guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Coach's Class here to teach you about math.
Dividing with decimals? Oh, dividing with decimals. Hey, this is a thing we can do. It's actually one of our last big rational operation ideas. If you can divide with decimals, that means we can multiply with decimals, divide with decimals, multiply with fractions, divide with fractions. We got a lot of tools in our bank of operations that we can do. So let's just get right to it. One little thing that I want you to know, this 2 and 1300ths, we're actually going to cross that out. That should be a 213. Once you've made that change, you're going to flip open with me, and we're going to look at just a few problems. The biggest thing with these is just getting them set up right, and then once you've got them set up, you can just divide. If you look at this 16.8 divided by 12, the first thing you would do is set it up as a long division problem. Notice the numbers kind of switch places. We're going to try to see how many times 12 fits into 16.8. And actually, that's a problem you would have done in 5th grade. So the 16.8 is just written on the inside. That decimal right there just kind of floats up, and it stays in the same spot. Once you've done that, you just divide. So you would do 12 into 1, doesn't work. 12 into 16, one time. You take the 12 away, and then you would just continue dividing, right? So 12 goes into 48 4 times. 4 times 12 is 48. So our answer is just 1.4. Remember, when we divide, the answer is just called the quotient, which is a fun word to say. Quotient. So 16.8 divided by 12, 1.4. Here gets a little weird. So 39 divided by 0.4, or 0 and 4 tenths. If we start with the 39 in the house, and that 0.4 is trying to fit in. So imagine if you're counting 0.4, 0.8, 1.2, right? We're not counting by a lot. It's going to take a long time to get to 39. And so if you think back to when we were dividing with fractions, right? When we divide by tiny things, it's going to fit a lot of times, right? And so one thing that you do when you divide by any number that has a decimal in it, we're actually going to move that decimal. So there's one place value there behind the decimal. We're going to move it one time to the right, because our quotient is actually going to be getting larger because this number is so small. So we're going to be able to fit more pieces because we're dividing by tiny things. If we move this decimal here, we show that effect on the inside as well. Right now I don't see a decimal on that 39. I'm going to put one at the end. So it's kind of like a period on a sentence. It goes at the end. And then we're going to grab it and we're going to move it one time. Right? So we're dividing by 4 tenths. It moves the decimal once. It moves the decimal once here. In that hole, it's just going to go as 0. And then I'm going to write 4 goes into 390. I like having that decimal here. It just makes me feel good, right? I'm going to actually float that up too, so now I don't even have to think about it. So up here it says, when multiplying decimals, we determine the location of the decimal point after we multiply, right? So that was definitely something a bunch of you guys remembered from 5th grade, was oh, decimals, we just multiply normally, and then at the end we count the decimals. So think about this. Multiply is the opposite of divide. So when we multiply, we worry about the decimals at the end. With dividing decimals, it's the first thing we do. So we move that decimal before we divide, if we need to, right? So here, we just had 12 holes here, nothing changes. Here, we had 0 and 4 tenths. So it changes what that number is going to look like as well as that number. Notice the effect is the same. Anything we do to the outside, we do to the inside. Okay. From here, I think you guys can divide. I'm not worried about that. We're good at that. I just wanted to show you the setup, and actually we can do this too. We'll get this one set up as well, just because it's a little bit different. This one, we have a 25 and 56 hundredths, right? So there's actually two place values after the decimal on the inside number. On that outside number, 0 and 12 hundredths, right? There's also 2. This is the one that I'm paying attention to. So when I divide by 0 and 12 hundredths, I see that number there, and I immediately think to myself, okay, that's really small. The effect of dividing by a small number that has 2 place values after the decimal is that it's going to move the decimal 2 times. This one's also going to move 2 times, right? Anything we do to the outside, we do to the inside. So here, 12 goes into 2, 5, 5, 6. That decimal moved to the end. I see it on the inside, I float it up to the top. And now I'm just going to go 12 into 2, doesn't work. 12 into 25, twice. And I'm just going to keep dividing. Okay? So as you go, just make sure you're checking your stuff off. We have that 1.4 there. Going to make sure that I cross that off as well. So you really only have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions to do. I think you're going to do great because you're really smart. Smarter than me.